So thank you so much for chatting with me this morning, Junie. I was just reading your bio and learning a little bit more about you. I'm in awe of everything that you have accomplished. So let me start by asking. You're a former ESPN sales exec. Have you? Former, yes. Have you always had a passion for fashion? I know that's cliche, but I have to ask.
So yes, it's funny. Fashion has always been my passion. I was born and raised in Jamaica, and my mom was a seamstress, single mother, and she raised six of us pretty much single-handed when my stepdad passed away. So, she pretty much made all of our clothing. And not only did she make her own clothing, I think we never really appreciated what she was doing then, because back then it was just like, I don't want to wear that. I want something that everyone is getting in the store. So we really didn't understand bespoke and custom and what that meant. And also coming from a Caribbean family, the whole idea of like embracing fashion and doing what I do was unheard of, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but I've always had an interest, and I got that interest from my mom. And when I walked the halls of corporate America, I was always known for my fashion sense and also known for breaking the rules. It's funny at ESPN, they used to say, "Here comes ESPN and Junny," because everyone was always wearing a gray suit.
Mm-hmm.
And I always had on something that was different, a little bit more colorful. So I brought color in the room in more ways than one. And at ESPN, I handled their fashion and lifestyle initiative. I actually inked the first fashion sports deal with ESPN and IMG when New York Fashion Week was at Lincoln Center. So yes, fashion has always been my passion.
Well, okay then. See that right there. You made sure, like, because I used to see a C in corporate America. It's always a C of either black or gray, different shades of gray, or brown. And I'm like, it's depressing. So I'm
Yeah.
glad that you had a pop of color in what you were
Didn't always
doing.
go over very well, but yes, I was always a pop of color in the room.
Yes, and I love that. So you shine a spotlight on Black designers and makers. So what has been the greatest? What has been the greatest connection you've made with shining that spotlight on the Black? I would say because there's different more there are makers and there's more than just the designers, but what has been the greatest connection that you've had with shining a spotlight on that, like what has what has stood out the most?
So I think that, it's funny because they use the term makers and they use the term emerging. And it's funny, Victor Gelmod, who does the Amazing Knits, he actually posted, he's been in the business for how long? And he actually, it was kind of like a parody the way he did it. He's like, but according to them, I'm emerging, right? So for us, we're always emerging until they consider us established. But so I'm a maker, first of all, because I started out making stuff. I made in New York City. And I feel like maker means that it's a craft, right?
Mm-hmm.
Bespoke, it's a craft, it's art. But I think for me, the biggest connection has been to a community and a community of Harlem. When I was a corporate exec, there's a community, but there really isn't a community. It's more a community. For instance, we do a lot of pop-ups. So we meet each other at these like local pop-ups. And I think it's just the way we support each other. For instance, the earring I'm featured in my collection is made by a local Japanese artist, right?
Mm-hmm.
She's a jeweler, but in a sense, she's a maker too, because she's pretty much doing her craft more or less out of her apartment, right? So I think we're
Mm-hmm.
both makers and designers in that
Okay.
sense, and that what we're doing is small batch. You'll find us behind the machine, in front of the machine, hand stitching, hand doing, right? So that makes us makers as well.
So that's the beautiful part, because I was going to ask what is the difference between a designer and a maker, and you've summed it up so perfectly, and that is a beautiful part of that. So because I'm not nobody's fashionista, if you ask me anything, I would say, oh, that's a pretty color.
Yeah.
And do they have it in my size? That's all I know. I don't know, what season it is. I don't know anything like that. But I love the aesthetics of certain looks and things like that. So let's touch on just a little bit of the launching a career after a certain age, after 40, because a lot of people think that's a pivotal position to be in. Because I have another client who launched her business well after she was 40, and she started anew, and it was a great like a rebirth for her. So what has, how has that been? Like, how has that experience been since?
Well, first of all, I'm hopelessly young. I
Yes.
refuse to own my age. I will never own it, and I will never tell. I am
Yes.
not one of those that gets greater later. My age is my business. Thank you very much. I even
Yes.
tell them at the doctor's office, they're like, we just have to look at your chart, right? I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. So I think for me, I never imagined this career. I was a corporate exec. I was Junny and Hibbert, right? It was my identity, is who I was. I was flying first class all over the world, whatever, right? I was an ESPN sales exec. So when I got that tap, which a lot of us get at that age for whatever reason, I had no idea what to do with myself. And I never imagined that my experience would not be a good thing. But now I was living in a world of little sound bites, and where it's like about culture fit, and do you like to go out at the bar, and do you like to hang out and whatever. And I'm like, yeah, I kind of did that, and I don't want to do that anymore. I'm good. I don't want to lick salt out off your navel or whatever, right? That's kind of not how I live. So I was a lot surprised at how hard it was for me to actually land on my feet. And there's some other issues which, coming from that side, we all don't talk about as women of color, that we experience because of who we are, right?
Hmm.
So for me, I literally fell on my face, like literally. I was doing all of these interviews, 7, 8 interviews, not getting the job, telling that I was perfect. I was too perfect. Is my energy always up to here? Is it all ever down to here? And you're a great fit, but there's something I can't put my hands on or fingers on, whatever. So literally, I started working with a lot of makers in Harlem, because a lot of us, now that I'm a maker, we're great at our craft, but we're bad at everything else, at strategy, at doing all of the things that keeps a real business running.
Right.
So I started working with a lot of them in Harlem, and really learning the craft and experiencing the craft, and interviewing for all of those big corporate jobs. And one night I passed out, I guess. I woke up and I was on the floor, and my head literally, thank God for good plastic surgery, literally I was like bleeding from my forehead, and I had no idea how I passed out or how I got
Oh,
there.
wow.
Yeah, I literally weighed nothing, and I panicked, because one of the things when you leave a big corporate job, you realize that your friends are not your friends anymore.
Right.
And I literally didn't know what to do with myself. And of course, I wasn't thinking straight. I live across the street from Harlem Hospital. My
Hmm.
bag is always on the chair. I literally, it's like midnight, grabbed my chair and went across the street. I'd never been to Harlem Hospital, right? It's like a trauma one unit. And I always imagined it's the place that you go if you got shot or something, right? But I was going there because
Right.
I was like, oh my God, what happened? So I literally walked in, the door is closed at that hour. They opened the door. And of course, they probably thought I got mugged or something. And I was bleeding, and they stitched up. Well, they didn't stitch up my forehead, but my forehead needed stitching. And literally, I think I'd reached a point where I was just so exhausted. I weighed nothing. And I just couldn't continue like that anymore. So literally, after I got stitched up, it was my birthday, the big birthday. 4 friends are like, you know what? We're going to do this thing. And we went to Italy.
Oh.
And so that was the beginning of a new beginning for me. We went to Italy and everybody's like, she's crazy. She got no job, but they're in Italy, whatever, living like, living your best life. And literally I was working with a Brazilian hat maker, Crema Diodato. I had been doing some consulting work for her, and she gave me this vintage silk kaftan. Gorgeous kaftan. And she partnered with me because I'm not a trained designer. And I took the kaftan, well, it was just not a kaftan, it was fabric, a sari fabric. I took it to the African market on 116 in Harlem. And I'm looking for a tailor, and they're looking at me like, who's this girl? Because I'm Black, but not, whatever, right? No, whatever, let's not say. But so they're looking at me like I'm strange, like, what's she doing here? And then this woman, Madame Sabine, she said, child, come here, child, what you looking for? So I told her I wanted to make this kaftan, and she says, go see Dembo. And Dembo is a tailor like at the end of the market, right? Malcolm Shabazz market. And I go to Dembo, and he wanted $75. And I was like, I only got 75, so I'm going to give you 65 because I need a 10. And literally he made me, I told him what I wanted, because back then I drank way too much happy hour in Harlem back then, right? You could sit on the boulevard and you could get a nice cocktail for $5. And I would watch them going to prayer, and they're saying hair braiding. And the colors were just so beautiful. And they wore the prayer robe like the Grand Boubou, the flow of it, right? Was just like so amazing. I was like, damn, I want to capture all of that, right? So I literally told Dembo what I wanted. I didn't have a tech pack. I didn't have a pattern. I didn't even know what that was then, right? And he literally made me the most beautiful kaftan ever.
Oh, wow.
And it was Sunday morning, and my friend Karama was frying bacon for her kid. And I go to her apartment, and we use her iPhone, and we film me in the kaftan. And I put it on my Instagram. I think I probably had like 2 followers then. And I got like 14 orders right away. And I'm like, what?
That is...
The only thing is it's one, and it's like one of a kind. And I have never sold the kaftan. It's actually going to be in a new Fox, Our Kind of People, coming out. It's a Lee Daniels, Karen Giss production on September 21st, and they actually used that piece. And that literally was how I started this business, from one kaftan. And that's what a lot of Black designers and makers will tell you. We literally start with that one piece, and from that one piece we build a business that way.
But I mean, just the amazing part of how it just evolved into something so amazing so quickly, to me, like that's like, it's like the one collection. I was looking at your website, and I was like looking at every piece. They're so gorgeous.
Thank you.
And I'm like, I listen now. I like nice pieces. I may not know what to wear them with, but I love a bit. You have some beautiful pieces. So let's talk about you're on your New York Fashion Week.
Girl, the White Castle.
Because I did not realize how, because I'm really, I'm just getting familiar with the fashion world. That's major.
Yeah.
I'm excited, so I know you have so many preparations, and I definitely want to touch on what the excitement is for you to go into to New York Fashion Week. But I'm like, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you, girl. I'm like, what you doing? You crazy? But yeah, I'm kind of crazy too, because you have to be crazy to try on and take on something like this in such a short space of time. And I'm so happy that Leah is on board, because there is no way, when they asked me who was my PR, I said me and Baba God. And of course, they're not even Black, so they had no idea what I was talking about. So they were a little bit stern, and they're like, that's cute, but who's the publicity? And I was like,
did you say that's cute?
And they're like, we're gonna ask you to do better than just you and Baba God, or
right. Me and God, that's it.
Yeah, we come this far together. So they're like, yeah, you and God might need a little bit of help.
You're like, yes, me and the Lord,
Yeah,
we're
yeah,
good.
yeah. So yeah.
Oh my gosh, I'm excited because I love seeing new beginnings and especially great accomplishments such as this. So I'm excited to find out what the collection is and how that's going to play out and what it's going to be. I'm just like in awe that you are on the schedule and you are, I'm excited.
Thank you so much. So for me, this is not only my greatest moment, but girl, it's also my scariest moment. And I have
Yeah.
to tell you, my mother always said, if you're not scared, child, you're doing something wrong, right?
Right.
So, I mean, I would say this, I don't think it's a perfect collection or perfect moment, but I feel like perfection is overrated. But
Yep.
for me and my small community of followers, and for all of the Black designers that I know, for me, for this moment, coming from corporate America, not being trained, hearing them call us emergent, and we're always emerging. And I was like, when do we stop being emergent? And also not being a young designer, which is another word they love to use. I feel like, I don't want to say I'm a trailblazer, but I'm a trailblazer because, I think that I show that if you want something badly enough, you
Yeah.
can get it. It's not easy. And on my Instagram, I try to make sure that I keep it real, right?
Mm-hmm.
And raw, which is I'm apt to do. And I think they would rather Leah button me up a little bit more, right? But I feel like, I want people to understand the process and to understand that it's not easy. But if you want something badly enough, you should go for it. You should do it. And I think one of the things that the pandemic has taught us is how really short life is and how you have to live your truth and your joy and whatever that
Right.
is. And I feel like for me, this has probably been the hardest journey, mounting a collection in such a short space of time, but it's also my joy and it's my truth, right? And one of the things to me when I started designing this collection, my mom, before she passed away, my mom is plus size. And I always hated that when I tried to buy her something, it was always the cheapest, ugliest polyester, right?
Girl,
And I was always like, why would it go up? My mom was a size 22. Why it gotta be polyester?
thank you.
And one of the things that I started doing, especially with my custom business, where a lot of the women that I work with were plus size, and it was always custom. And that part of the business will always be custom because this is my first made for retail collection.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things I've learned is when you're working with made for retail, it's a whole different thing. You're doing extra small, small, medium, large, extra large, right? But at the same time, I'll offer the sizes in a custom for my clients. And one of the things I always wanted to use great fabrics. But for me, I also wanted to celebrate African fabric, African culture, and the makers, right? And the continent, right? But I'm also Jamaican. I'm of mixed heritage, right? My heritage is ambiguous. So, when I grew up, right, our Indian culture was as much a part as our African culture and our West Indian culture. So the way I create is I fuse all of those cultural influences, right? Because it's different now that I'm here. I'm classified as African American, right?
Mm-hmm.
But growing up as a Jamaican, I had the advantage of being able to embrace all cultures. And with this collection, I also wanted to create a collection that was bold, that was colorful, that celebrated my heritage, but celebrated all women, right? So one of the questions I would get from women that were not Black is like, I love that, but I don't want to wear it because I'm afraid of like being accused of appropriating the culture,
Yeah.
right? So I wanted every woman, and the women who follow me, the friends of Junny, the supporters of Junny, they're all races and they're all sizes and they're all ages. So I wanted to create a collection that embraced all of that. And the collection is actually called Mama. And it's an homage not only to my mom, who's probably turning over her grave, is like, she probably is like, I I sent this girl to school. I give her all that good education, and now she making things, right? So that for me is the whole collection, right? So, and it's kind of like, it's also about the journey, right? And from womanhood, right? And even though it's inspired by my mom, it's like the dreams of the adolescent girl who probably wants to be a designer, right? That young woman, we're all searching for that meaning of life, right? And that grown woman, you want to be liberated and you want to be celebrated. When I started doing the kaftans, they used to be like, girl, ain't nobody wearing them things, whatever. And then we hit the pandemic and the pause button, right? And everyone started wearing the kaftan and everyone started embracing the kaftan, right? And I don't know a designer that doesn't have some form of a kaftan in their collection. But literally when I started, it kind of was like a bad word. It was a moo-moo, right? And you wore the moo-moo and you were hiding something.
But the thing is, those are comfortable.
Yeah.
Like, you could wear a cute dress under it and have that over it, you know, and it makes you feel like, to me, if it has pockets, that's even better. Like, that's my biggest thing. It's like, that's a staple piece. Like, I'm a plus size girl, so to me, that's a staple. Gorgeous. Yeah, and it's like a staple piece, and I'm like, I'm always looking for pieces that can, you know, enhance my personality, but also, you know, give me that comfortability where I'm comfortable, you know, and I'm not stuffed into something.
But that's one of the things too. When I started, I no longer wore the suit, right? The suit was like that thing that restricted me, right? It represented someone that I used to be. But sometimes folks would be in Harlem, right? I live in Harlem, and they'd be like, hey, we're in your hood. And I'm wearing like my cutoffs. Well, I don't wear cutoffs anymore. The legs are not that great anymore. And a ratty little cutoff t-shirt. And I'm like, God damn it. So then literally I would just, once I started doing the kaftan, I would throw the kaftan on. I would belt it. I would put on some long dangly earrings. I usually have on one cuff, which is kind of like my style. I would throw on some platform shoes. And literally you would walk in the restaurant and literally you would sashay and everybody would turn. And girl, one time I actually fell. I just slipped and fell. I was sashaying. I was like feeling myself, and my friend was like, yep, God don't like ugly. That was you trying to show everybody how cute you were. But that's the thing too. Not only can it be comfortable, but it can be a glamour moment as well.
Yes, and everybody wants to feel glamorous. Everybody wants that boost of confidence. We've been in the house for 18 months, so we need something to come out with. So I want to thank you so much for chatting with me today. I am like in awe, and I can't wait to see the pictures from the show and, you know, from your showroom and what you're bringing to the table, because, you know, I'm excited for you, and this is so beautiful. So I want to thank you so much. I can't even like imagine. I did just buy something off your website, by the way.
So much.
I had to. I was like, wait a minute, like, because it fits in what I have going on right now. So I had to.
Fashion Week will get you kaftan.
Okay. I want to. So that is amazing. Thank you. So most definitely, I will be following up after the show. I want you to, because I know you're busy, but I want you to know that I'm rooting and I'm excited for you. And I'm like, I can't stop smiling because it's like you've accomplished, like, that is major, and you know, I'm here for it. I'm excited. So you have.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And thank you for the opportunity to share this part of my journey with you. I really appreciate this.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm so like, my cheeks are hurting because it's like, I'm so happy. Like, this is amazing. And then, you know, so I definitely can't wait to see and talk to you afterwards, because I know you're so busy and getting stuff together. This is a great opportunity. This is so amazing. So thank you so much. I know you have, you know, a lot of things on your plate today, but thank you for taking the time this morning.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Leah. Thank you so much for that.
Bye. Have a good day.
Okay, bye. Thank you.